We're being joined tonight by Matthew Okugbe. He's a sports journalist here in Lagos, Nigeria. He's been following these developments very closely. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Game On. What exactly is going on? There's been allegations of meddling in the electoral process. There's been some are saying that there's a ring fencing of the electoral process so that certain individuals will not be able to contest. What exactly is going on?
Very much for having me on the show. Wale, good evening, and good evening to the rest of the guys in the studio. Firstly, I would like to commend the DG of the National Sports Commission for standing up for what is just, for once again reaffirming the integrity and the commitment of the Commission to uphold and build a new trajectory for Nigerian sports. What I would say was about to be done in this concern was I would personally want an aberration if this had been allowed to stand. If not for the intervention of the DG, I'm able to say that some persons felt that because they have one or two influence, they could naturally take the rest of Nigerians and the rest of sports stakeholders for granted. As we all know that sometimes in the month of June, sometimes in the month of May, June, the NSC released the guideline for the Sports Federation election, where it was stated that these elections would be conducted between the month of August and September. And it was also stated in that document explicitly that the nomination forms for prospective aspirants would be made available from the first day of August. And most of the aspirants were already looking forward to it. And the 1st of August came. These forms were not made available. And prior to the 1st of August, I would like to focus more on a place I would like to call my constituency, which is boxing, precisely grassroots sports boxing development. We've been on this in the last 5 years, trying to see how we would support individuals who, with little or no support, have been able to invest heavily in giving Nigerian boxers a trajectory towards opulence. So we were looking forward to the elections. Precisely the 1st of August came. The forms were made available, and stakeholders began to ask questions. Before then, I would like to use the word sponsored. There was a sponsored publication dated on the 1st of July on the Punch newspaper that states that the election had been postponed to October, November. So stakeholders were somehow skeptical about the publication. It was purportedly attributed to the NLC. But we know the channel at which the NLC churn out most of their release, especially when it has to do with elections and other issues that pertain to Nigerian sports. We reached out to those in the NLC, and they said there was nothing of such, that there was no release from the NLC postponing the elections. They would advise prospective candidates to be on the lookout. Okay, so the candidates were absolutely on the lookout.
Sorry, Matthew. Sorry to interrupt, but the question I'm to find out is that now, since the NSC said that they were not responsible for that sponsored post that you mentioned, did they also mention why the delay for the forms had come about, and had the zonal elections been conducted at this point? Have they even been conducted right now?
These elections have been conducted as we speak. As far as the NBF is concerned, the Nigerian Boxing Federation, none of these elections have been conducted. On Wednesday the 12th, Wednesday the 13th, on Wednesday the 13th, sometimes within the hours of 2 p.m., 3 p.m. on Wednesday, these forms just finally find their ways to most of the sports WhatsApp platform that house some of the boxing stakeholders. And there was a communique from the Secretary-General of the Nigerian Boxing Federation, Olalekan Faseesin, stating that the elections would be held on Saturday, that the window for prospective candidates to fill their form, have it endorsed, and submit is less than 48 hours. And these same candidates are expected to also find their way to Abuja within yesterday and Friday for their screening for them to be eligible to contest.
Okay, so the question is, are these according to the guidelines? Do this particular move by announcement by Olalekan Faseesin, was it according to the guidelines as laid down by the National Sports Commission?
No, yes, I would say to some extent, yes. The window given by the NSC, the guidelines for the election released by the NSC states that you must submit your nomination form within a 4-day window. Within a 4-day window. The NSC states in that document that the forms will be made available on the 1st of August, and as a prospective aspirant, once you are able to get your nomination form, you are expected to sort out yourself in terms of the completion of the form and have it submitted as early, not later, than the 4th of August. But prior to this time, the respective sports federation ought to have informed the aspirants 2 weeks ahead before the election that the elections will be coming up sometimes XYZ dates, but you must be prepared 2 weeks before.
Okay.
But this window were not created as far as the now postponed election is concerned.
Okay. Okay.
The forms were made available, as I said, on the 13th, and the aspirants were expected to complete and submit their form as early as on the 14th, less than 48 hours. Wow. They are also expected to find their way to Abuja tomorrow, which is Friday, stay in Abuja, and also sort out their screening and go for the zonal elections on Saturday.
Okay, Matthew.
It also caught some of these persons unaware because based on antecedents and the statutes of the Nigerian Boxing Federation, the zonal elections are always conducted at the zones. The Southwest zones are expected to conduct their election in the Southwest. The Southeast zone are expected to conduct their election in the Southeast.
I understand.
Same as the North
for the other zones
and
as
other
well.
zones in the country.
Okay, so Matthew, before we let you go now, the question is, who do you think, in your opinion, or what do you think is was behind this attempt to shorten the process? And when do you think will be a probable date for the election to be held?
Yes, very good question. Very good question. I was also coming to that. The idea behind these whole shenanigans that almost played out was basically because some persons want to shut maybe some of the leading candidates out. And we know who some of these leading candidates are. And we could begin to call some of these names. There have been a loggerhead between some executive of the recently dissolved board and some individuals who are not board members but are majorly investing in boxing promotions in Nigeria. And one name comes to mind, Yukateko Omole Yakubu Imadu. One individual, I would say it on national TV, that most board members, former board members of the Nigerian Boxing Federation do not want him on the board. Okay. I would make bold to say that in the last 5 years, if there is any good thing that has happened to Nigerian boxing, it has been as a result of the Yukateko Boxing League and the efforts of Omole Imadu.
Okay, so
this individual started the first ever amateur boxing league in
I get that, Matthew. I get that, Matthew, but we're hard pressed for time. So when do you think that the elections will finally hold? We heard that it's been postponed for the next 3 weeks. Will it hold this year? Will it hold December? Matthew?
Yes, the election is expected to hold in another 3 weeks.
Okay.
Is expected to hold in another 3 weeks, according to the release from the Secretary of the Nigerian Boxing Federation. He said stakeholders should be on the lookout. So at this time, the game is still on. So that is to say, there is no date yet for the election. They just said the election has been postponed till 3 weeks' time. But candidates are expected to be on the lookout for further notice.
Okay.
So
Matthew,
they might come in the middle of the night and tell you that the election is holding tomorrow. And if you are not available, and the delegates who are expected to vote for you are unable to find their way to Abuja, then you might just be losing out.
Okay,
so the game is still absolutely on as far as this whole shenanigans is concerned.
Okay, Matthew Okugbe, sports journalist and boxing enthusiast, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Game On and helping us shed more light on the interesting electoral issues currently going on in the Nigerian Boxing Federation. Thank you so much for your time.